Paladin,
Incredible.
do you like animals?
I love them.
Hello everyone, Arvoxil here. Now I find this next shot with Lori very interesting because she receives a call stating that Rue will be actually making a pickup there later on this evening. And we get a little peek into like Lori's mind and what she surrounds herself with. Her bedroom is very well put together and clean. Not really what you would expect from someone transporting drugs and selling them. I want to say you notice a lot of dolls on one of her shelves and dolls are creepy. So maybe that shows like a little sign of like self-control, how she's always like very, monotone, straight face, not very reactionary, but yet she still has like a violent side to her. I want to say the shot that really kind of shows me inside of Lori's mind is the cats. All the little ceramic cats when it pans over that, because she's like a crazy cat lady with no cats. She has a parrot, but she has a bunch of these ceramic cats. So, crazy cat lady could be a title. I mean, another crazy theory about Lori is with the dolls. Maybe she sees Rue as maybe like a doll to her. Like, she doesn't want anything to happen to Rue. She cares about Rue like a doll. Rue's a good person at heart. She's gonna be on this journey with Lori, and Lori's gonna try to look after her and misses her. And I just kind of see that kind of a little bit of as a resemblance, but maybe I'm just making a stretch there. And I just want to say, like, Lori has a phenomenal part in this season. Like, her character, I thought was going to be completely out after Rue had moved on with Alamo. I thought that we really weren't going to see much more of them. But this episode really, I think, just shows how intelligent Lori really is. I want to say I'm not trying to say that she's dumb or anything, but more so of like, her character doesn't actually get to show her true strength a whole lot. In this episode, I really think that she shows her intelligence if you just pay attention. And one of these is when Bishop walks in with Rue, and Bishop kind of makes a threat on Alamo's behalf, saying that, hey, we're going to go purchase product from other people if you don't deal with us the right way. And Lori then has a remark that was like really strong and just shows me a little bit of her intelligence without saying too much. Lori states, hey, tell Alamo we're not hurting for customers, and she doesn't care if Alamo bought from J. Edgar Hoover, which is a very important person, and he was the first director of the FBI. And heck, I'd even suggest like looking up more information on him because he has an interesting story. Moving on from that scene, we also see where Bishop then approaches Paladin's birdcage and asks about Paladin and Paladin's name, of course. Lori answers and then asks a question of her own, do you like animals? Bishop replies, I love animals. We then see Rue actually sit at the table across from Lori, which I think this part right here is very important. Because Rue definitely feels uncomfortable being back there with Lori again. I think Lori and Rue have a special connection. Again, going back to, seeing Lori's room and all that, she has all these dolls. I think she sees Rue as something that she wants to protect and take care of, but control. Lori even states that they all miss her, but I think she's just referring to herself, saying that Lori misses Rue, but stating that they all miss Rue, and even asked Rue what would it take for her to come back. And so Lori kind of throws a little bone out there saying, hey, profit participation, getting more money. And then we, get a close-up of them testing the product. And it's not even Rue or Bishop testing it. So that's the other thing. I kind of have a what if situation for later, like in future episodes, if this part right here is going to have a little bit more importance later for any of the product that Alamo receives from Lori. Rue tells Lori that she's actually happy working for Alamo, and then Lori actually looks sad here. Again, we don't see much expression from Lori, but she actually looks down at the table as if she really is kind of sunken by that. It really makes her feel bad that Rue doesn't want to be there with them and rather be with Alamo. And she says, that doesn't make me feel good. Rue kind of sees that and apologizes. And this is the important part of this whole conversation. And I think this is going to be the biggest part for future episodes. This little hint right here. Lori makes direct eye contact with Rue and does not break it and states, grass is always greener by the septic tank. Then it cuts away. And in this next scene, it's back to Lori, Rue, and Bishop and their Wild West standoff. Bishop approaches Paladin's birdcage on the water side where, Paladin's water is located. And as we see, he doses it with something that is going to kill Paladin. And see, this is where, I think Lori is a little bit more intelligent than everybody gives her credit for. She notices Bishop do this, move over to the water side, and is like, hey, what are you doing? He comes up with the excuse, because he actually does pull a feather at some point, that he was just picking a feather from Paladin. I just want to say that music score during this scene, though, is intense. Like, all tensed up, like, oh man, is she going to freak out? Is she going to figure it out right here and there? And in the next part, they're talking about Paladin's name and where its origin is from. Bishop then states, did you name Paladin after Richard Boone? Lori then catches this and actually states that she didn't know that blacks liked Western. And Bishop then states, it's not a black and white thing. It's the civilized man versus the savage. And then Harvey, I believe his name, says, and which are you? And Bishop replies with that he is a cowboy, meaning that he is the civilized man and they are the savages. Which is kind of fitting to how Alamo has been portraying his character, wearing a cowboy hat, using a revolver, and, kind of having that cowboy mentality. I also want to state here that Bishop actually puts that feather of Paladin's in his hair, which I don't know if this is a stretch, but according to cultural roots, putting a feather in a hat can be a symbol of achievement and dates back to early European customs, such as the Hungarian soldiers marking enemies killed. And again, Bishop just poisoned Paladin's water bowl. And another thing to show Lori's intelligence here is watching when Bishop actually throws up the money and, the music plays and he pretends to shoot it. Everyone else keeps their eyes on Bishop while Lori's focus kind of shifts downwards and she's pondering something and also looking at the direction of Paladin and Paladin's cage. And what she's pondering here is, I'm assuming that she actually is understanding everything that maybe just went down. Maybe not to the extent where she knows that Paladin has been poisoned, but trying to make sense of what this threat means and trying to read between the lines of what Bishop is actually trying to say to her without saying it. And as Rue walks out, Lori doesn't actually say goodbye or anything to Rue, which I feel like is kind of out of the ordinary. And she's still really concerned and pondering what was this deal with Paladin. Then the next shot cuts straight back to Rue, and she's driving and she notices something behind her in her rearview mirror, some headlights from another car that is telling her, while she's listening to Exodus 3 and Moses' experience with the burning bush. And then we witness the sad fate of Paladin as Paladin drinks from the poisoned water. Rue's pulled over, and it's actually the DEA that pulls her over. So my theory on that, the DEA is going to be using Rue as an informant, but maybe not necessarily with Alamo, but against Lori and her crew, which would be an awkward situation since Rue is also the same one that gave Alamo the idea that Lori cared so much about Paladin, because Alamo was offended by the pig in his strip club and believed it tarnished his reputation or damaged it. And the reason I say this, and I have this idea that they're going to use her, is because they knew who she was before asking her for her information. This was a planned stop to get Ruby Bennett, and that's why I'm assuming that the DEA wants her as an informant, because they're hunting the bigger fish. Now, that could be Alamo, but again, she just came from Lori's house, so I'm going to assume it's Lori. And in the final scene, we see the sad fate of Paladin, as the poison water did exactly what Alamo and Bishop intended on performing in killing Paladin. This all happens while Lori is actually sleeping in her chair, with her chair pulled right up next to Paladin's birdcage, while she's watching TV, which I'm assuming here is a Boone Western. Correct me if I'm wrong. If you guys know exactly what Western it is, let me know in the comment section. That'd be interesting. I'm almost wondering here if she knew that there was something going to happen to Paladin. Maybe not so much the poisoning, but worried that someone was going to come and break in and kill Paladin, in the middle of the night. Because, again, the furniture was not placed this way in the scenes before. Again, though, she could have just moved it around just for more comfortability, being closer to the TV and closer to her bird. Then it cuts to credits. Paladin, where did you roam?